I'm too sexy for my love, too sexy for my love, love's going to leave me.
This week on Late Night with Monica Price, it was a song in the 90s that captured our attention and raised the bar on what it meant to be sexy.
I'm a model, you know what I mean, and I do my little turn on the catwalk. Yeah, on the catwalk, yeah, on the catwalk, yeah, I shake my...
And now that multi-million selling duo are back. Right Said Fred are one of the UK's most enduring pop exports. Since forming in 1989, brothers Fred and Richard have a list of achievements that include #1 hits in 70 countries, including 2 US #1s, 3 UK #1s, and a #1 in Japan. They were also the first band to reach the #1 slot in the US with a debut single since the Beatles. They have performed with the likes of Bob Dylan, Mick Jagger and David Bowie, have won 3 BMI Awards, 2 Ivor Novellos for I'm Too Sexy and Deeply Dippy, and in 1993 were nominated for the Best British Group at the prestigious Brit Awards. But it all comes with a price, and Richard and Fred talked to me about their depression and mental health issues since their career took off in the mid-90s, and how the recent lockdown has brought this to the surface once again. Their new single, Your Inner Light Is Love, is a song about light versus darkness, a song of unity, and is an antidote to any of the doom and gloom. Are you ready? Let's get sexy with brothers Fred and Richard. Right Said Fred on Late Night with Monica Price. Hi guys, so great to see you. How are you both?
We are fine, thank you. Yes, we're
So great to have Right Said Fred. You know, as I was coming to the interview today, I was singing it in my head. I was going, we're too sexy for my lip. You just can't help it. It's just one of those songs. It's, you know, I was looking at that. 1992, that single was.
91.
Was it 91?
92 in America.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And in fact, it went to #1 in America. You were the first band since the Beatles, actually, weren't you, to have a US #1?
Yeah, that's correct. The debut single,
Yeah, which was fantastic for your debut single. Guys, we've got a lot to talk about today. So really lovely to have you on the show. So what have you been doing? Obviously, you've been doing a lot of creativity during lockdown. We're going to talk about your new single, of course, which is out now and having fantastic reviews. So I'm so pleased about that. But what have you been up to, guys? Obviously, you know, it's been a funny year last year. We're starting this year. We won't go into that too much, but it's been a very strange year. But have you been very creative?
Yes, we have. We have. Like most bands, we had a whole year of festivals all booked.
Yeah.
Which is now all gone. So we were the only upside of the lockdown that from our point of view was we were forced to indoors and to think about writing more clearly and to think about how we wanted to sound a bit more clearly. Whereas if we'd been out on the road the whole time, we wouldn't have given it much thought, I don't think.
Not as much, no.
Not as much thought.
You don't have the time.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. You don't have the time on the road, do you? And I think most musicians that I've been speaking to, actually, the lockdown has actually forced them to be creative, which it actually is a good thing because you've got great material now to come out with. Because we're desperate to hear it. Let me tell you, we're desperate.
Yeah, I mean, from a writing point of view, we've enjoyed it actually.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
Have you been collaborating with anyone during lockdown?
No,
we haven't.
The cleaning lady sings a little bit.
There was a song. What was that? What was that film with Hugh Grant? She was watering the plants.
No, we haven't. We collaborated a little bit with some people in America, and that all went wrong. And the reason we don't is because 9 times out of 10 it gets a bit litigious.
It does, yes.
That's the problem.
Yeah, and also we don't write. Our stuff tends to be we tend to think a little bit outside the box or left field compared to a lot of writers, and so we don't meet many writers that we work particularly well with.
Yeah.
So we tend to stick with the two of us. I mean, a lot of the early hits were co-written with Rob Manzoli.
Yeah, but he was a little bit weird anyway.
Yes, he was equally out of the box. And then we've had subsequent writing collaborations with Paul Statham, Clyde Ward. They've all been pretty successful.
Yeah.
But overall, we tend to keep ourselves to ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. If somebody said
nothing wrong with that, though, is there really?
No. I mean, if we're working with somebody and they start saying, "Oh, you can't do that,"
yes,
that's the minute we switch off.
Alarm
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm exiting the building. I'm out of here. But it's true. But, you've got a formula that works, so why change it?
Yes,
that's
we don't
really.
see it like that. One of the problems one of the realities we've had to face is not having a band.
Yes.
People we've grown up with. We tend to chop and change. So we went right in the early days. I started off with I'm Too Sexy, and then we had Deeply Dippy, which is completely different.
Yeah.
And I think if you're working with a bunch of guys that you've grown up with, you tend to stay in a groove a bit more than you would in our situation, which is where we chop and change all the time.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think that's a really good thing. And if you listen to, I'm not comparing us to the Beatles, but if you listen to the Beatles, what was great about them on, say, the White Album, we've got something like Revolution Number 9, which is and Rocky Raccoon.
Yes.
Bands don't have to. I think it's artistically a bit. It's a bit rubbish to stay in a groove the whole time.
Yeah. And this new single, Your Inner Light Is Love. Yeah. I mean, it's so lovely, and it was written very heartfelt, actually. I could hear the emotion in it, and I just thought this is a really lovely tune, and it's coming out to rave reviews, so I'm so pleased for you. Again, was that something? I know when I was reading the sort of brief about it, was that something that you kind of wrote from the heart? Because it feels like it comes from the heart, that song.
Yes, it was really.
I think the division over Brexit, and now more division through masks or vaccines or lockdowns or whatever you want to discuss, and also the division, the mass division with Jeremy Corbyn's Labour. We saw it there. And now with Keir Starmer, and obviously there are probably lots of Tories under Johnson that aren't very happy either, but they're keeping a bit stum at the moment. But there is a lot of division across the country. And the idea of the song is to realise there's more that unites us than separates us. Yeah. So we need to get back in touch with that. So the idea is that if someone wrote a list, ideally they want to be paid. They want to work. They want to get paid. They want to pay their bills, feel safe. It's all the pretty standard stuff. Yes. And so the song is about, the inner light being that feeling that enables you to connect to someone else. That feeling that irrespective of your political views or religious views, there's a basic connection between all humans, basic human rights. And that's sort of what the song's about. And we wanted this evangelical.
We wanted it to be happy.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. We need happy, don't we? We definitely need happy at the moment. That's for certain. And that comes out in the video, which we're going to be playing later on in the show. And it comes out in it because it's all the big love heart. It's all about love. And you know what? Love and kindness is what we need right now.
It is.
We do.
I don't think politicians paid enough attention. I really don't. I think if you think you can cure the world with science, I think you're barking up the wrong tree.
Yeah.
Or economics, you cure the world, or if that's even possible, but you start one person at a time. And we've said, do something nice. Phone a friend up and see if they're okay, or knock on a neighbour's door, or buy some food, or I don't know, just something simple stuff.
Simple stuff is often the stuff that we're missing. I mean, Richard, in fact, both of you have come out, talking about mental health and how it's affected you in the past, and how the lockdown has actually triggered it all again. And how are you both feeling?
Well, fortunately, my tablets are kicking in.
Yes.
Fantastic.
I normally can drop down to a tablet about almost every 3 days until lockdown came along. So I'm back on my full meds, but I have had a couple of not massive meltdowns, but I had a bit of a meltdown in Spain when I went to see my wife, and that all went wrong. Not with my wife, but me, I went. My wife is fantastic, but I just everything unravelled, and I sort of was a bit of a mess for a while. So we both have to keep an eye on ourselves, and the lockdown does not help that. And I think we've got the space to have a small indoor gym, but there are lots of people who aren't so fortunate, and the gyms are a great place for community support and mental health. I mean,
yes, they are. Yes, it won't be long, thank goodness. But you're absolutely right, and it was really great of you, actually. I thought to speak about it, speak so openly and honestly about mental health, because there is still a little bit of a taboo about it in this country, and we do need to talk about it. And the more we talk about it, then the people that feel that they're by themselves or alone, they know that they're not alone. And that's
Exactly.
really, really important. Yeah,
It's
no,
really,
it is.
Yeah,
And it's great that you know that you're positive with it. You know that you're
You have to
really
be.
trying to find, because we have to be, don't we? I mean,
Yeah,
I can't wait, probably like you know, to go to a gig, you know, just to go out to a restaurant actually, and sit down and have a dinner would be very nice. Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, wouldn't that be lovely? You know, and even things like this. You know, we're doing interviews now. You'll be coming to the studio.
I
You know,
know.
I'm missing, and I'm sure you. I mean, you've said it. Both of you have said it. You know, you're missing that kind of contact, aren't you, with people?
Yeah, you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Well, people, I mean, since from the very first day, you know, we dragged ourselves out of the primordial slime.
Yes.
We've been
Great
communicating with each other. That's what we do. We're herd animals.
Yes.
We hear a lot about the herd instinct.
Yeah.
But when it comes to everything else, we're not a herd. We're all individuals, and we're supposed to be on our own. So to me, I think we underestimate, and I think one of the things that lockdown has done is it's reminded everybody of how important human contact is.
Oh, absolutely. And that's why I go back to your single, because it's just all about that. You know, just all about that. And is there an album connected to that? Guys, you're going to be doing an album?
There's an EP. The songs on an EP, which is with 2 other songs, We're All Criminals and Pretty Ain't Enough. And we're looking at an album either later in the year or probably early next year, because we're independent. We don't have labels or managers or publishers.
We don't have anybody.
And so we have to be a little bit mindful of our cash flow and stuff like that. So if it looks like we can do an album and actually break even or not lose money, then we will, of course.
I think that would be absolutely amazing. And you said that, you know, all of your shows have been cancelled. When are you next lined up to do some shows?
Well, at the moment, the July shows are still in, but it looks like they're getting moved. So that would take, then there's August, September, I think October's off, but we've got some winter shows as well. And I don't know. I mean, I think like with a lot of bands, we're just waiting to see. The trouble is it can change overnight.
Yes.
And I think people who are my heart goes out to the promoters trying to make a festival work. It's difficult when the market's good.
Yeah.
So more power to them, and I admire their optimism.
Well, we worked with one promoter 2 years ago.
Yes.
And if they have one rainy afternoon in their weekend, they lose money.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how
very
close it is. I personally, what I did today is I put a call into Chris Whitty and I said, when do you think we can go on tour again? And he said, how about 2035? And I said, fine, that sounds He's a bit of a musician.
Now. But it will come. You know, that's the thing. It will come. Now, musically, I mean, you've been around for a long time, and it's so great that you're still, you know, feeling the music, really, for want of a better word. Still creating, still really happy doing what you're doing, and that must give you great joy as well to do your music.
It does. Writing a good song is really it's a really good feeling,
and it's really good for our mental health, and we enjoy it. And it's to be honest with you, it's what we've always done. And even before we had a hit or were successful, that's what we did. And our careers have gone up and down a lot. And even when things are really bad, we still just write. It's kind of what we do. So we don't. When people say, "Oh, is this a comeback and stuff?" We don't understand that language, because for us, we've always been doing it. And for us, it's the industry that comes and goes. We're in the same place. So it's everyone else that's doing it. Yeah.
And when they talk about you going away, you must think, "Well, I haven't been anywhere. I'm still here. I haven't been anywhere."
Exactly. People say, "Where have you been?" It's like, well. You know,
actually, still here. But there's a lot of that. There's a lot of musicians like that, though, isn't there? Because unless you're in the music industry and you understand the music industry and how it works, it's a tough industry.
It is.
Industry. There's no question about it. But it gives us all so much joy.
It does.
Which is great. How about re-releasing some of your old stuff?
Well,
it's slightly. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a bit of a minefield in terms of legally. Yes, it is.
We've got a remix of "Sexy" coming out possibly on Sony in America.
Yeah, I think that's happening.
That might be happening.
Yeah, that's an EDM version that should be happening this year. But we tend to just play the stuff live.
We like to keep moving, man.
Yeah.
Keeps you young. So great. But it does so, doesn't it? And what about other stuff are you writing? What other stuff are you writing at the moment?
With the next track we're working on that we want to put out next is some of a sort of 4 on the floor dance thing, but still quite
very happy.
Yeah, very upbeat and with a positive message.
Fantastic bass line.
Shut up. And we've got this sort of slightly Latino vibe to it. So we've got a percussionist on it. And, yeah, it's sounding very groovy at the moment. So we're just trying to finish the chorus, and then we'll get that done in the next few weeks, and we'll probably stick that out. Where are we now? March. So we'll probably have July or something, June, July.
Yeah, June, July.
Yeah. Do you find, because you are together and you've got this creative bubble, if you like, are you experimenting with your sounds, different types of music, different instruments?
Yeah, I do. It's quite a lot of the synth sounds on our tracks is actually guitar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right.
So quite often what I'll do is I have a guitar line, and then I'll either change it with delays and stuff like that, or we'll change it in post-production. So I'll do a guitar line, and then we'll copy it with something, or we'll trigger it against something. And that's not uncommon. We've done that a few times.
Yeah.
And we tend to track a lot of guitar lines with synths and strings. So in terms of experimenting, I suppose a little bit in the light of love is experimentation a little bit, in as much as it's a gospel thing, which we did once before on a song called Big Time. Yes. And we've always liked it, So I suppose we're a little bit, aren't we?
Yes, I think we could. One of the good things about being independent is you don't have to run everything you do past anybody.
Yes, of course, that's the joy, isn't it? You can do what you want to do, actually. If you want to write a song that's a slightly obscure, a little bit, just a little bit off the record, not really fitting into any kind of genre, you can do that, can't you?
Exactly. And also what's interesting, I think, is that the audiences and punters are much more open-minded than the business.
They are. Yes.
They really, really are. They're much more. If a business could only learn how prepared people are to be surprised,
yes,
I think it would make such a difference.
Yeah.
But that's why so much pop music sounds the same,
yes.
And the production sound the same and everything else, because people are operating within a very narrow parameters. But if you go back in time, I remember when I first heard Bright White Swan when I was a kid. I couldn't understand it. I remember thinking, where does this bloke come from? I couldn't understand it.
The Mars.
Yes, I mean, I've been listening to the Stones or.
It's true. Yeah, it's true. We like to fit things in boxes, don't we?
Yeah,
it's got to have a box. You're that genre, you're this, and sometimes music just doesn't fit in any of the boxes. And that's the wonderful thing about being a creative, because you create. So that's the whole idea of it.
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, I remember going to a party and they were playing Pink Floyd, Atom's Mother. And I remember thinking what a load of rubbish it was, because it didn't have any singles on it. It didn't have any obvious hooks, because I was too busy listening to Sgt. Pepper's and stuff like that.
Yes, but it was always way ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly. What I now realise is they were way ahead of me.
They were
way ahead of me.
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic.
And we've had musicians like that, I think, just going through the 80s, the 90s. Now we've got musicians that are creating stuff. You think, wow, that's just completely different. But maybe in another 20 years, that would just be the norm.
Well, exactly.
True.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I really like some of Leonard Cohen's stuff.
Yes.
Now, Leonard Cohen would be a very hard act to place now.
Yeah.
What is it? It's sort of for poetry. It's a bit doomy. It's a bit, but it's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant.
Is there anyone, each of you, which one, if you were to say a musician or an artist or a band that you really admire, who you really like, can you pick one for me?
Well, just someone we really like and admire.
Yeah, just someone you listen to. Yeah, who you listen to at the moment?
It would be past and present. Be David Bowie, I suppose.
Right.
Just a really interesting artist. And I find some of the remixes, DJ guys. I think Calvin Harris is a really interesting guy.
Yeah.
Robin Schulz, I like. And I think there's some. Who's the other lot? And I like people like They May Be Giants and those sort of bands. People with a slightly, but they approach it from a slightly different angle.
Yeah. And there's some artists, like early McCartney, where it's just pure pop. There's nothing clever about it. There is clever stuff, lots of stuff clever about it, but it's just really, really pure. It's just pure pop, and I love stuff like that. I mean, the Bee Gees would be one of my
great writers,
co-writing favourites. Fantastic. I mean, Barry Gibb, fantastic. He's lost all his brothers now. It's very sad.
Yes.
But Chain Reaction for me is one of the greatest pop singles of all time.
Yeah, it is. It never seems to age, that song. actually.
No,
it doesn't.
You just play it over and over again, and you think, God, how old is that song? But actually, it fits very well, actually.
It does,
It's one of those, isn't it? And then vocally, guys, I mean, you've got this very unique vocal element to your band.
Yes, that's
is that you? Yeah. Is that something that you know are going to stick to? Would that ever change? Would you ever do something a bit different with your vocals?
I don't experiment much with vocals. One thing I don't like doing is I don't like double tracking.
Right.
A lot of people do. I don't like it.
We don't do much.
We don't do much of that at all. It took me a long time, and Fred used to nag all the time about it, and he's right. But it took me a long time to rediscover that low end that my voice has.
Yeah. It can go very low, Richard. It can.
Yeah, it goes lower now than it did before.
It goes. The older I get, the lower it gets.
It's just going down low.
It'll be subsonic at some point. And I like that. And there aren't many singers that can do that.
No.
So that's one area that we'll probably keep.
Yes.
The singer that I wanted to be when I was a kid was somebody like Steve Tyler. I wanted to be a rock screamer. That's what I wanted. Yeah, I really, really like that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not the voice I was born with. So
that's right.
Play the cards you've got.
Exactly that. And guys, it's so nice to see you both together still, and just supporting each other, because that's really important as well for your mental health as much as anything else.
Really vital.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of people, particularly in the industry, who've been unraveling at quite a rate. Yeah. And we've been in touch with a few friends and even one of our neighbours. They're finding it very, very tough indeed.
We had a knock on the door the other day, a lady asking for money.
Yeah, no, we've actually had neighbours who, if on the face of it, look like they're comfortable. Yeah. The actual ready money, cash, they haven't got much of them. Yeah. Not that we're loaded or anything, but
anything you can give. I think kindness is one of the things that I truly hope that when we come out of this, because there's been untold kindnesses being given to people, and we've seen it, over social media, of course, and we've listened to it on the news. I really, really hope that continues, because I think, we've learned, haven't we, that it's just us actually. It's us three in this room today. We're the most important things. Never mind about all the material things. It's actually the people are the most important.
One of the things I hope comes out of this is an improvement in the way care homes are treated.
Oh yes.
Don't
get me started.
I know.
That's another conversation. Yes.
I have such a problem with the way this country treats the elderly. I think it's a disgrace. These people have paid their taxes their whole life, and then we shove them off into a warehouse and imagine they're different to us because they're older than us.
We have a lot to learn from the European countries.
We have,
because there's certainly, it's so different in Germany and Switzerland and Finland and all the Scandinavian countries. It's so different. But all we can do is hope that when we come out of this, we're going to be in a much better position. What's the first thing you're going to do? I'll ask that, Richard, you first. What's the first thing you're going to do when we come out of lockdown?
Have a glass of wine in a restaurant with some
nice. Fred, how about for you? Same.
No, exactly the same. Exactly. I'd sit outside in a restaurant, have a lovely meal, a bottle of wine, watch the world go by, go home and sleep. Yeah,
exactly.
Booked anywhere. You need to book. So I suddenly thought there would be all these people wanting to do that. We need to book.
Oh. No, I would definitely. We're both big fans. I mean, one thing we miss about touring is exploring the restaurants and the little towns we used to go through and stop at. Yeah. And we discovered some great wines and some really and interesting people as well. And that's been obviously I miss shows, but in a way I miss the human interaction. I miss that more. Yeah.
It's the people you meet and the places you see.
Yeah, and you meet some great people. Some people are just fantastic. Yeah. I think we miss that a lot. So I think I'd go watch the world go by with a glass of wine and something to eat. Yeah.
Also, I'm looking forward to the day when all this ridiculous plastic comes down. Oh. All this perspex. Let's just get rid of it. Yeah. Get rid of it in banks and shops, and just let's just have people talking to each other.
What's weird? 1 minute we're trying to save the world from plastic, and the next minute we're producing it by the ton.
And that's another program we could talk about. That's another program. Exactly. It is so good. But guys, have you got any festivals lined up for next year? Obviously this year, mind you. Interestingly, I saw Love Supreme Festival's going to go ahead in July. That's the one that's down in Sussex.
I hope they can make it work.
Yeah. I hope they can make it work. I was due to go to that one myself, and I'm a bit I'm a bit wary. I don't know if that's going to work or not going to work. To be honest.
No idea.
No, I mean, no. I think it's best to just take weeks at a time. I really
it
do.
is.
From our point of view, we haven't got anything. We've got some stuff at the end of the year that might happen.
Yes.
But I think next year, in terms of time, next year is much more likely.
I think next year you are going to be run off your feet.
I do hope so.
I do. I think people are desperate for shows. I think people will want to see you, and you know, people will just. They're just going to be booking up show after show after show because they just want to get out and experience that togetherness. Because it's funny. I was talking to another artist about it, and you know, we were talking about merchandise because yes, you can buy merchandise online, but the whole wonderful thing about when you go to a gig is that you get the merch there and say, oh, you know, I got this T-shirt, I got this album, and we're missing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that shared experience is really important.
Yes.
And I was thinking about elderly people, things like bingo and book clubs and bakery clubs and all this stuff where people it's a vehicle basically to get together, which is what gymnasiums are for some people. Not gymnasiums, but health clubs. Yeah. For some people, health clubs, they don't actually ever train. They just go there.
Like golf clubs.
Yeah, exactly.
Play golf.
I just had that set there beside them. Just look
good. Bag.
They've got all the gear. I haven't touched it, mind you.
All the gear, no idea.
I wear the polo shirt, but that's just about it. Oh, guys, well, it's been great to chat to you today. It really has. Really lovely. Is there any message you'd like to send out to these lovely people that are watching us tonight? Just stay safe or whatever you want to say to them.
Well, it'd be nice if they bought the single.
Fantastic. We'll be playing that video straight after this interview.
To be honest with you, I think it's to try and not have our lives dictated by people who don't care about us. And just my opinion. I'm not saying it's a fact, but my opinion is that most of those in power. I don't just mean politicians. You know, CEOs of banks and et cetera. They don't care much about us,
the little folk,
the little people. Yeah, they don't care much about us. And I think it's really important that we remember how much we can do for each other and how much support we can lend and receive.
Also, don't hate somebody just because they disagree with you.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, can we stop with that?
It comes back to kindness, doesn't it?
Yeah, you know, somebody disagrees with you. It's not a big deal. You know, somebody, okay, you disagree. Well, there you go. That's the privilege of living in a democracy, I would have thought.
Yes, I believe.
It's been great to chat to you. It really has today. It's whizzed by, and as I say, we're going to be playing out with both of your new single and We Are Criminals, which is off of the AP, which is great. And just both of you, just take care. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you so much. It's been really good. Thank you so much. Take care.
Thanks for having us. Thanks,
Monica.
You're in a light, you're in a light, you're in a light, light. You're in a light, you're in a light, you're in a light. It's love. You're in a light, you're in a light, you're in a light, light. You're in a light, you're in a light, you're in a light. It's love. Shine your light on love. Shine your light on us. Shine your light because you're in a light is love. Shine your light on friends. Shine your light on them. Shine your light because you're in a light is love.
Shine your light on love. Let's see it all. Rejuvenate me like a